In this video, I'm going to be talking about some insane lore that bridges between my personal life and the channel. If you follow the channel for quite some time, probably about 6 years, there's someone that used to be featured on this channel a lot. I used to play with them a lot. And while, in recent time, I haven't really featured a lot of people on my channel in a while, there is one particular person that I no longer associate, and I want to discuss this. This video is educational in the same way as any other videos I've done in the past, talk about trust, joy, whatever. This video is specifically for if you have someone in your life that you're having second thoughts about keeping in your life. If other people have said, oh, that person's toxic, and you're like, oh no, I could change him, or he'll change, or, I gave him another chance. This is a video for those people. This is a video for you. Alright, so, in 2018, specifically November, I met someone through GT Online, and they were gonna cargo grief me, but when I'm dealing with cargo griefers, I tend to just text them and be like, hey, look, no beef, leave me alone. He was nice enough not to blow me up, and we ended up becoming friends. In January of 2019, he introduced me and my friend Yandel to his best friend, and the only person that I'm gonna be naming will be my friend Yandel and the person in question, Damien. And Damien was, to say the least, the pinnacle of what it means to be a nerd. Obsessed with everything from James Bond all the way to whatever new thing that's he's typically into horror, thrillers, psychological thrillers, pop culture stuff. That's basically to describe Damien. At the time, he was getting into online gaming for the first time, so I think he's mentioned before that he would play old games, old single player experiences, but this was his first time really getting into the online sphere. So it took him a long time to get used to GTA. That was the first game we started playing. And the only thing that I would say, there's a couple things that people could call nitpicks, but I would say at the time, because at the time I was 16, and he was 15, and Yandel, I think, was 2 years older than me. But the thing is that in high school, I wasn't a very patient person. And I will admit that, I didn't understand neurodivergency and all that. So I already had issues with Yandel at just the introduction to Yandel, where I found him a little annoying. And Damien was someone that kind of was the same way. He just wouldn't shut up about things you didn't care about, or things you didn't know anything about and you didn't want to know anything about. At the time, I was in a very not good place, considering that I developed depression later on in the year, but I was in a very dark place at that time, so really I was just keeping anybody close to me because I just didn't want anybody leaving. And in this instance, while, in the past I blocked Yandel for doing that type of, considering him to be annoying, I wasn't doing the same thing with Damien because, I just wanted anybody to stay close to me. And when it came to Damien, he was the type of person that is the definition of that meme where he's like, oh yeah, I just gotta eat supper, I'll be right back. And then it's bro supper, and they're eating a big pizza. That was him. Almost every single time we played with him, he would leave. A lot of the time he wouldn't tell us when he left, but the biggest issue was that he would always leave during something important and sometimes be gone for hours, and I mean hours. The longest he was gone for, what I believe, was 5 to 6 hours one time. And to bring up another old thing that I've not mentioned on this channel in a long time, but sometime, I believe in that same year, I started my second Rockstar editor project called Simulation Overdrive, which was essentially just make every episode was like reference or homages to different media, whether it be video games, movies, TV shows. And when I didn't have any ideas, I would just ask other people for ideas, and Damien was the one that came up with the idea for episode 6, which was centered around the American Horror Story hotel season. And it's interesting because in this video, the first I always thought that he was there for the first couple, for like the first scene or whatever, and then he left. No, what ended up happening was he was gone for, I believe, I don't know how many scenes we filmed, maybe like the first 4 scenes. He was gone for the first 4 scenes, despite it was his idea, and he only showed up in the final scene. I don't remember how long he was gone for, but yeah, basically just when we were ready to film, we had everybody in this party, and he left. And we were waiting for him to come back. I was literally trying to get other people to fill in his role, which I don't even remember what it was. But, and then eventually he came back, and I was so mad. Like, we filmed that last scene where I ended up killing him, and after that, I was so frustrated, and I was so done at that point, in terms of just him being so, I don't know what the word is, difficult to play with, that was the first time I blocked him. And I felt like at that time, you know, there was more reason to block him compared to like the Yandel thing, where it was just like a preference thing. That it was so frustrating to play with him if he was leaving all the time, and the fact that he promised to do this thing and then he had to leave, and he was only like, he was still in it. It was his idea and all that, and just, it got me really irritated. And I tried to explain to him, I was like, look, I did this with Yandel. I don't remember how long I had Yandel blocked, probably for a couple months. I'll probably unblock you again. I just need time away. So, in this time, then that cut into the beginning of the pandemic, which was 2020. And for those that obviously, you know, were around, you know, that was a really difficult period for most people, I'd say, if not all people. It sucked for me because I don't even remember what I was doing. I wasn't playing a lot of games much. I just, like, everybody was craving social interaction, so eventually I caved in and unblocked him. And at some point in this time, there was a new arc with him that became kind of like, it was kind of the same thing like he was doing before, you know, you just talk about stuff you don't care about. But more specifically, he was infatuated with this online person that he met. And apparently, he was going on about it for probably about like 4 weeks. 4 weeks later, he tells us allegedly this person ended their life. And at the time, we knew that it was a serious thing, that he never really would discuss personal things like this, but we could tell that he was going through a hard time, and My friends and I, we were just there for him in that time because we knew it was difficult for him, and we all at that point experienced loss, that it just made sense to stick around because he needs people in his life, especially when someone that's very close to you, or in this case, like the idea of someone being close to you, not physically close to you, it's difficult. After, I would say, I don't know, maybe a couple months later, there was this second instance that made me question who Damien was as a person. And for me, this was one of those instances that at the time, it's like you give someone a chance, and we're there for you. Then why the hell would you do something so stupid, especially to something stupid to your friend, and think that we were just gonna let it slide? So this was probably the first instance that I was questioning his mental being. And I don't think this was caused in any way, shape, or form because of this person that he supposedly lost. But one night, or maybe evening, I was playing World War II with him, and we were in a party. He was just talking to me. Occasionally, him and Yandel and I would play Fortnite, and Yandel's sister would join. We'd all play Fortnite together, as well as sometimes my sister would join and we'd play games together. But anyways, he mentioned this evening that Yandel's sister, who at the time was, I would say, maybe 13 or 12, apparently found Damien's Instagram and was messaging him in a weird, inappropriate, like hitting on kind of way. And he told me about it, and he told me that he wasn't going to tell Yandel because he was afraid how Yandel would react. And I told him, I was like, you can't do that. First off, you gotta shut it down. And he says he tried shutting it down, okay? Well, then the next thing that you have to do is you have to go to your friend and tell him that what his sister is doing. And if it really made me question Damien's character, because we've all been close together for, at the time, I think we were maybe about 3 years, if not 2.5 years. And that he knows us, we know him. We all have our own, we all know personal stuff about each other. But Yandel is one of the most understanding people that I've ever known. And Damien didn't see that, because why would he do that? Now, at this time, people may, judge me for this, but I recorded him telling me this because I knew he wasn't going to tell Yandel. And rather than just telling Yandel himself and be like, look, you need to watch this video. And we both came to the conclusion that it was not a good idea to give Damien a second chance, and that we should block him again and just don't think about him. And I wish it stopped there, but I came into the peer pressure of my sister because, at the time, I think it was we had a group of 5-6 of us, including my sister, that we would all just play games together. And often or not, we always would like to have 4 people, depending on what game we're playing, because, we do really good with 4 people. And at the time, it's whatever, try to put things past us, well, just as long as we have 4 people. But more and more, that even eventually that became it didn't matter anymore. So I blocked him again. Our third friend, who has also appeared on the channel quite often, is always like the mediator. He's easily one of the easiest people in our friend group to just, talk to things about. Clearly, Damien would vent to him about things, and regardless, he always decided that, or he always came to the conclusion that it's not something to break the friend group up about, and that we should just, we should just walk past, we should just try to make things work. And eventually, what ended up happening was at some point in this year, I don't remember when exactly it was, but there was another arc that Damien decided to start a new arc. And this is something that we don't know if it's true or not. At some point, he told us that apparently the sister of the girl that supposedly ended her life decided or contacted him and said that she is coming for him. And this also in these instances, he had a new girlfriend every couple weeks, and he told us a story about this one that the one that got away and then came back and then cheated on him, and then getting hit on by his best friend and weird stuff like this, that we kind of all just I told him so many times. I'm like, I got to the point after the sister situation, I told him that, look, you can't do this. Just you can't keep doing these things and expect us to just not let it slide. I told him straight up, I don't trust you anymore, and I lost all respect for you. Yandel told him the same thing. Obviously, our other friend had a different mindset. I told him, you gotta stop talking about this. You gotta stop complaining about girls in general. You gotta stop talking about things we don't care about. And then more specifically, the next thing that happened was there was an event that happened that, all I'm gonna say, basically, his family and him were put in danger by someone in relation to him, and there was a hearing, and he's basically turned against his family because his family wanted the guy to walk. However, then Damien's best friend's dad ended up taking his family in, so they ended up moving in with his friend. And in this time, he just started becoming more toxic, the way he would discuss his sister, the way he would discuss his mom, and I guess he calls his friend his brother at that point, so I guess his brother too, and even his the new replacement father figure. That it just became more, when you're with someone, you hate their energy because it's so I know a lot of people use the word toxic, but it rubs off on you. It's like, why do you want to be with someone so miserable? So this was the first, and this was really the beginning of the end, because then he mentioned that he started talking to this girl in Japan, and that he was going to run away with her, move to Japan, and at some point down the line, he stopped talking to us altogether. He would go lots of months without just talking to us. Another thing that I mentioned that also kind of just was a nail in the coffin was every time he would buy a whole bunch of different retro games and retro systems, but whenever Yano and I would ask him to buy a game just so we could play, he pretty much said that he doesn't care about playing with us anymore, and that he would rather spend his time and money on things that he actually wants to do. And then it didn't surprise me that while, I don't know, maybe a year later, that he said that his PS5 stopped working and that we would just never play with him again. And in that time, he would just randomly message me long paragraphs about stuff, about, going to therapy and whatever, but I genuinely just stopped caring. And what I started to realize, probably, I would say maybe after the sister situation, is that I never enjoyed myself playing with Damien. I have a playlist, it's unlisted, of I guess moments that that contain him in it, but I could tell that for every time I've watched those things, it's always because it's either the other people that I'm with or just the game itself that I'm enjoying rather than playing with Damien. And that was something that took me a long time to realize, and I feel like a lot of people have experienced this. So one conclusion that I eventually came to realize was the fact that Damien was a manipulator and a pathological liar. I feel like I've covered everything wrong that he's done, but just know that I've given this guy probably about 6 chances, and every time he just would continue to disobey. And I got to the point where, I was like, yeah, you know what, you can be in our friend group, and we'll play together, but I don't care about you at all. I don't care about what you're going through. You lost all my respect and trust whenever you decide to do that to Yandel. And even Yandel was just someone that wanted to follow what I was doing. But I think he genuinely agreed by my talking points, and when I told him that, do you really think that Damien cares about us? If he was gonna do that to you? And there's not only that, but I also told him, whenever he would be like, oh yeah, Damien just told me that he bought a bunch of retro games and a fucking console, but he won't buy whatever we asked him to buy to play with us. And he's like, no, that's not right. And I'm like, yeah. And there were some talking points that I just felt like I needed to keep to myself, or just to keep with Yandel, and specifically that we weren't going to tell our other friend, because I kind of got to the point where it's even if I even just explaining this to my sister, yeah, my sister is younger, and she's not the best person to rely on in terms of trusting people, because she's had her trust broken so many times. Even trying to talk to other people, even talk to my dad doesn't really see it as a big deal. Talk to my mom, she doesn't see it as a big deal. But then I talk to someone like my grandma, and there's just a different response, a different way that certain people can see when someone is disingenuous. And that definitely comes from past experiences, for sure. And there's some people that are still blind to it to this day, like my mom and my sister. And I guess at this point, maybe even my dad. But what I've noticed is that after associating myself with Damien, I've come to the realization that I trust less people, and more specifically, I don't want to seek out friendships or new relationships. I was told by my friggin' professor, and it was recorded, long story short, but that I have a hard time dealing with rejection. But the way I see it, more or less, is that I have a hard time finding people that won't be assholes. That's the way I see it. I feel like, especially in today's society, more specifically, it's so toxic and people are so self-centered. There's certain things that I can see in a person and I can kind of detect like a certain level of empathy that I can now see. I don't know, maybe it's just being going through the process of disappointment so many times that you can kind of start seeing patterns or detecting whether or not a person is genuine, or at least if a person that was genuine is now a different person, or if something has changed them personally. And going through that, it's made things a lot different. It's not a nihilistic approach, it's pessimistic. It's definitely more of a pessimistic approach, and it kind of views the world in a much more narrower, doomer landscape that it's harder. It's definitely harder to find real people. And I also think back to just online safety in general. Well, like, be careful who you meet. But Damien has taken like so many years off of my life just by making me become a more toxic person, by being surrounded by his terrible attitude, his just terrible character, that now that he's gone, I just see the world in a more negative light, and I just see people in general in a more negative light. And that's why we need to encourage more positivity and use this as a reference for the next person you decide to let in your life, whether it be a relationship, friendship, or even just a new family addition. That's all. Peace.
Oh my god, please, please, Christ. Oh no!
Yes! Yes! Fuck you, Damien! Let's go! Let's go! Let's go! Yes!
God!
Oh my god, yes!
No!
Yes!
No! No! No, I'm not. I was on the knife.
Oh, yes!
Sorry, guys. Hear you guys?
Yeah!
I'm sorry.
You can't yell like that!
Sorry, I got too excited. My apologies.
Not
My
okay.
apologies. That's the first time I've
Okay,
done
I gotta go get fresh air.
Done it a couple times.
I gotta go get fresh air.
that. Sorry, Karen.
I am posting that on YouTube.
I am so mad. I'm not even.